What I'm going to be talking about is, first of all, the actual service that I run, but then also speaking about the specific research that's out there and why it's actually modelled the service that we're providing. So I'm going to be talking about the service that we've got there. As you mentioned, I run a one-to-one clinic and also a specialist group rehabilitation programme. I'm not going to be talking about the one-to-one clinic because I'm conscious of time, but if anyone would like to find out anything about it, please do grab me at any point. And as I said, I'm going to be talking about the evidence, and then I've also decided that actually it's not just about me that's talking about my service, it's actually the patients. And so I've got some great videos of the patients that are engaging in the rehabilitation programme, and they can feed back to all of you today about what their experiences are of engaging in a group rehab programme. So first of all, to talk about the HIV rehab services that we run at the Chelsea and Westminster. We do have an integrated group therapy team, so myself and Esther, she's our OT. We are an integrated therapy service team and we work in the largest HIV unit in Europe. We provide both inpatient services, so we have a specialist infectious diseases ward and inpatient chemotherapy and oncology ward. It's a 19-bedded unit, all individual side rooms, so they're private rooms, ceiling track hoist, negative pressure capability, and our service is that we provide all of the inpatient rehabilitation for the patients there, with both physiotherapy and occupational therapy, and there's also dietetic and speech and language therapy when indicated as well. But what I'm going to be talking to you about today is the outpatient services. So I run a one-to-one specialist outpatient physiotherapy clinic, which is based in the day centre called the CODA Day Clinic. This is not just a physio service for anybody with HIV, this is for HIV-associated complications, so whether that be lipodystrophy, neurological complications, etc., etc. And the reason being is because it's not a huge service, it's half a day once a week. So I don't have massive capacity, but I'm currently in the process of pushing my managers to try and expand it. But what I'm going to be talking to you about today is the CODA rehabilitation class, which is our supervised group exercise program. Oh, and we do also offer hydrotherapy when the pool works. So what is the CODA rehabilitation class? So it's a supervised group exercise program. It's led by myself, physiotherapy, and it's also assessed by physiotherapists prior in the one-to-one clinic. So all patients that are referred to outpatient physiotherapy will be assessed by one of the team, me, and basically the idea is to try and collaboratively with the patients decide whether actually something like a group rehab program would be what they want. If one-to-one is what they need, that can be offered. So if they need manual therapy, if it's whether they actually need just supervision, guidance, lifestyle modifications, that can also be offered. But actually, if a group environment is what is indicated, then that can be offered as well, which is this. It's twice weekly, it's on Tuesdays and Fridays, and the idea is following the evidence that's out there, it's meant to be for 10 weeks, so patients have the opportunity to attend 20 sessions. It says appeared specifically for people living with HIV, and it's specifically aimed at people that have impairments or limitations that really do restrict their ability to engage in regular physical activity. So it's not a gym for anybody that's HIV positive. It's a place where if you really struggle to exercise, if you have body image concerns, if the stigma is too great for you to feel that you can't go to your local gym, this is where you can come. This is a place to be safe and exercise and actually gain confidence in how to be physically active. But we don't just do exercise. The innovative component on this is our self-management programme. It's called a self-management programme because we're utilising the British HIV Association's Standards of Care 2013, which has a whole section on self-management. So we're kind of using the guidelines out there and renaming things to make sure that we're fitting the stuff. And I will talk a lot more about the self-management programme. And this service is available for outpatients, but also for our inpatients. If our inpatients want to come down to the ward, like Will mentioned yesterday with his class, inpatients can come down, they can see what other people are doing once they may have been through an episode of illness, and actually how they can come out the other end and be on the cross-training. It only started in September last year, so we're still very much in development phases. We are collecting data on all of our outcome measures, but we're not at the point of actually doing any research on this, but this is definitely something that I want to be pushing towards. So the self-management programme that I mentioned. So the idea of this is that it's about living healthy with HIV, how to self-manage certain conditions and issues about having disability. And as you can see, there's a whole list of different things that we focus on here. But the novel component is it's provided by a multidisciplinary team. I, as a physiotherapist, can't provide everything that everybody may need. So actually, I've drawn on the wide multidisciplinary team that is available to provide the service that actually people need. So, for example, we do things like fatigue management. Esther, our ROT, does sessions on fatigue management and also stress and relaxation. We've got a palliative care consultant that comes and does sessions on pain management. I run a session on continuing physical activity. So as I mentioned, it's a 10-week program, but the idea is that at 10 weeks, we're not just going to dump you and say, bye, off you go into the big wide world, now you know how to exercise. This session is actually where we bring people from the YMCA in. So the YMCA in London has a positive health program. And we bring in those people to talk about the services they run. We also bring people in from the local area, from the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. And the government has a scheme which is called Active for Life. And the idea is it's reducing costs, reducing the cost associated with engaging in physical activity and going to the gym. And they come in and talk about all the government-backed subsidised schemes. The idea is to try and break down those barriers to regular physical activity. We've got our dietitians that do general nutrition and healthy diet, and our advanced nurse practitioners also do a session on living with HIV. This is very much kind of like a one-stop shop where you can come and discuss whatever you want. This is the collective need of the group, not what we're telling you to talk about. And the things that often come up are side effects of ARVs. Functional cure has been coming up quite a lot, the baby functional cure. And actually people are really interested in stuff, and sometimes people just don't know where to go to ask these questions, and they've got a 5-minute consultation. And actually being able to sit down in a group and discuss the things that you're interested in as a group has made a massive difference. And the advanced nurse practitioners are the ideal people to be doing that. We've also been so lucky to get the HIV specialist psychologists involved as well. And we do 2 sessions, one on goal setting and one on confidence and self-management. And the specifics of that is that we know through the literature that actually goal setting and goal attainment is specifically important in being adherent to whether that be ARVs or whether that be actually physical activity. And we all know how difficult it is to be regularly physically active. Let's face it, none of us like going to the gym. And then we've also started to get the community services in, so the charities. So we've got Positively UK and the Patient Forum that come in, and they've only just started with us, it's new. And the idea is they're talking about other services that have got on signposting. And our smoking cessation team are also there. Standards of care led into it, and specifics are is that the self-management section of the BEVA standards of care say that actually what we need to be doing to addressing self-management is looking at physical, mental, social and economic well-being to optimise peer support opportunities. And that's why we've moulded this around that, because actually what we want to do is actually provide lots of different opportunities through lots of different sectors and services. So, putting the evidence into practice, I'm going to do a bit of a whistle-stop tour here. So we know that exercise is safe and efficacious. We know that there is evidence out there about group exercise programs. And we also know, like what Becca runs over at St Thomas's, is that there are literature released about physical activity programs, group exercise programs, that also talks about the outcome measures that are used. So what are we doing to put this into practice? We're providing a supervised group exercise program. We're aiming to get people exercising cardiovascularly at 60 to 80% of the heart rate max, and doing the strength training, the resistance training at 70% of what's called 1 rep max. It's all basically what the literature says we should be doing. We do flexibility and balance exercises as well, and we also do all the specific outcome measures. So we look at flexibility, we look at strength, we look at health-related quality of life, we look at sub-maximal exercise tolerance. And the other thing is that we allow patients in the class to self-record what they're doing. So we don't expect people to be there and going, I remember what I did last time. They've got a sheet of all their different exercises. They're recording what they're achieving, and the idea is they're then marking on a scale of how tough they find each exercise, a self-reported scale, so that they can mark their progress, and if their level of ability is fluctuating, they can see that as well, and they can then modify what they're doing at the time. Adherence. It's all in the literature, and we'll definitely be talking about that a bit later, and I've referenced what studies that she's involved in. So interestingly, we know that physical activity is something that's recommended, it's healthy, whoever you are, whatever your condition, whether you're everybody. And this here is statistics from the British Heart Foundation. And apparently only 39% of men and 29% of women in the UK are meeting recommended guidelines of regular physical activity. So this is not a HIV-specific issue of not being adherent to exercise. And interestingly, there is studies out there that looks at the level of adherence, and apparently 1 in 4 are not adherent. So if anything, we're looking at the literature, apparently people that are HIV positive are more adherent to exercise. But I don't know how true that is. So what are we doing? So we've got the one-to-one clinic beforehand to screen people to determine whether actually is group exercise for you, is it what you're wanting. We do goal attainment scale setting. We're setting goals with people, specifically because we know that goals are important to try and achieve the things that are important to you. We've got the psychology input, and we've got continued access to setting goals behind their self-mark sheet, they've got their goals that they've set. And we've got patient advocates. So I've got 2 people in my class. One's a black African lady and one is a gay white man, and they meet the general demographics of the people, of the population that we serve. They've attended the class. They attended 20 out of 20 sessions. They supported other people in the class, and actually I said to them, do you know what, I really want you to keep coming because I think you are so important to the other people in the class. I think it's really great that you continue to come and actually support other people. And they're there, and what they're doing is they're also helping us to evolve the service, develop the service towards what the collective need of the group is. And we're breaking down the barriers. That's how we're trying to improve here and here. We're bringing the services into the class that are available out in the community. Self-management, I've mentioned about the Viva Standards of Care, and there's one specific article here that's referenced in the Google Docs thing. One of mine, yeah. Self-management is not about telling people to increase their own responsibility of their health care. Because when you change the onus and say, you must do more, you must do it for yourself, people kind of step back. Actually, this here is about empowering people. This is about enabling people to gain performance attainment, actually learn skills and do stuff for themselves and feel confident in their ability. And actually, this literature specifically talks about how self-management is not attained through necessarily the content of what you're attending. It's actually the kind of the collective need of the group that are there at a time. So what we're doing is, the self-management program is not dictatorial, it's semi-structured. Basically, we kind of have those fixed topics, but we don't stick to them all the time. It's actually what the group decide to talk about, and actually it's the group that lead that, because actually it's the group that are deciding what they want to learn and what they want to develop and how they want to support each other. We've got clearly defined links to host services, and that's something else that this one reference that I've got here as well says. It's actually sort of like the support structure that's around the service that's providing the self-management that makes a difference. And we're incredibly fortunate at Chelsea and Westminster that we've got a huge, wide service. We're based in a hospital, so we can provide that. And we can, signpost onto other services. And we can provide that multidisciplinary approach and get the voluntary sector in. And like I mentioned with our patient advocates, we do a client service improvements. It's driven by the patients. Every patient that completes 10 weeks gets the opportunity to give their feedback, and that feedback is put back into our service development methodologies. So every few months or so, we look at all the feedback, we decide what is it that people are saying, what is it that people are wanting, how are we going to change this program, and that's exactly why now, as part of episodic disability, I'm sure I don't need to mention too much about all the work on episodic disability. What are we offering? The key thing that I'm going to talk about here, because I'm conscious that I keep talking, is the drop-in service. We don't stop at 10 weeks. Basically, I'm conscious that every single patient that attended the program said, I don't want to stop at 10 weeks. I want to just maybe have a little bit of a buffer out of the system. I'm not quite ready yet. Because otherwise it was just this twice a week and a sudden cliff drop off. So I've opened up my doors and I've said, actually, if you want to keep dropping in, feel free. I've only got a certain size of class, and if it gets to a point where new patients can't get in, that's a problem. But everybody understands that because they've been through it, they've appreciated it, and they want to continue to come in. And the nice thing about it is that what we're noticing is that some of the patients are then going through fluctuating health. And what they're appreciating is that they may be readmitted onto the ward, but because they know they can come back into the class, it's kind of like a support network for them to actually facilitate their discharge out of hospital. So, in a nutshell, we're the largest HB unit in Europe. We provide specialist inpatient and outpatient services, and we're implementing evidence into practice. This is my contact details. And actually, I forgot to say as well, we've got a Twitter feed for REVA, which is the Rehabilitation HIV Association, so please do tweet.